Yeah, so this is Learning for My Reptiles. My name is Daniel Yates, and the full title of this YouTube channel is how to learning science and how to deal with people for my reptiles. That was the whole point of the whole channel. And we're here with Phil Leaps of Arids Only. I'm pretty sure he's far more famous than me.
Oh, famous is not the right word.
Would you infamous? Huh?
No. I just mean like I don't know, modestly popular. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Within the tiniest niche imaginable. So, thankfully, nothing like fame. Hopefully, will ever cross my door.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched the Mariah episode that I did.
I did. Probably sometime, I don't remember when, but it was a little while ago. I've also listened to more than one of your episodes, and I've also listened to more than one interview with Mariah and had her on my show too. So I sometimes they all blur together.
Great.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's a really, really good person. Yeah.
Where could I do better?
Oh, what do you mean as a podcaster or?
I think I'm really into the neuroscience stuff, and I think some of the reasons why it's not caught on as well as it probably should is something you've asked. How do we apply this? Like, how does this like what? Because I mean, there's so many for like breeders and so many podcasts for oh, well, this morphin. I don't care about any of that. No, like I really don't. And I care about the behaviors, the health, the mental health, things like that. Sure. And I think there is something lost in the fact that people may not be able to go, oh, well, I can immediately use this, but I can't. Like I do. But yet every time I get asked that, there's two thoughts that I have in my head. The first one is, hey, why is it my responsibility to figure everything out? The other one is I should figure something out. And since I get bored so easily, I did. Like I've got that study coming up with like Dave Levinson. I got like 3 other breeders where we're going to prove out that this is memory, this is imagination, this is using both sides of the brain kind of thing. So it's going to be very fascinating. So we have it to where we're going to go in, we're going to fill out this form, make sure we know what the snake is, how old, how handling, all these different things. And then the person who's handled it the most. And then these snakes have no idea who I am. They've never met me.
Sure.
So we're going to let them open the drawer, and we're going to film the opening of the drawer. So I notice when they're up, because like they're going to get fed, you'll often see this.
Yeah.
There's even more to it. Like I've been looking through like that. I got a day-old Savannah monitor video where he sticks his tongue out and goes up, but it's just like literally here's the substrate for the incubator. And he goes, well, up is memory. Well, he's a day old. He has no memory of any of this. So, but I have a video of the Komodo dragon at the St. Louis Zoo doing the same thing to the wall. And now I've seen, so what it is it's actually, they're sensitive. They're so sensitive that they're actually getting like super close to it. But that he did, the Komodo dragon did go do this with his tongue to the wall. And I know he knows that wall. So maybe like instead of like going like this, it went like this because he knows it. But he avoided touching that wall with his tongue as if it's super sensitive. My Tagu, on the other hand, is out at the park licking leaves like they're freaking going out of style. It was Mike Stefani and Unlimited. They had the guy on from Smithsonian, and they were asking about this tree monitor that wasn't like a green tree. It was a bigger, like a something bigger than a Savannah monitor, but it's in the trees a lot. And why does it have such a big snout? Well, my Savannah monitor babies even hate my adult Savannah monitor. I've seen her, they lick that air. They know the bug's there, but they set their nose on the bug. before eating it. I've seen this out of my Peter Banded skink that was blind. I named him the gecko because he clawed on my arm and like tried to jump on the door as if he was a gecko. And he ended up being blind. I think it was a neurological condition. He had a seizure and died a long time ago. He was great. And so he would set his nose. I've got video of it. He would set his nose on the worm, and that's how he knew where it was, and he would eat it. Okay. And I think it's a tactile sensation. So instead of using their fingers like we would to do tactile, I think it's the nose. I think they're using that to go, okay, I know this because we know the tongue flick, the quick is a reinforcement of what they see. I see you. Is this what I see? Okay. So so the study itself will and I think that's a great answer to that question because it leads to so many different things, so many different thoughts. So as he pulls the snake out of the study, I want him to go here with it like twice and go here with it twice. And then we're going to have to go off of, my chuck. So where we see the head, we're going to go in a 45 degree from right between the eyes, a 90 degree and a 180 degree. And I think that's the best way to see it so that once he passes, like, which one does he pass? Does it decrease the tongue flicking up if it actually happens? So then we could say, okay, well, if it's down here and he's still tongue flicking all over the place, but yet up here he's flicking this, but yet when he looks at me and I'm within the 45 or the 90 degree, he's tongue flicking down because I've seen that.
Sure.
And I've seen that.
So I think the interesting piece about what you're getting at is the idea that there's a lot more sensitivity and delicacy to their experience of their surroundings and their food and just everything, right? That much more than other than might originally be assumed or assumed outright. I think one thing to be careful about would be to be careful about drawing too many through lines between too many different animals and too many different contexts. I think the way, because here's the thing, like, I don't know, I've never spoken to anyone who's seen a lot of one kind of animal who doesn't acknowledge the differences between them that are inherent between the individuals, that doesn't acknowledge their ability to recognize certain people and others. Like that, I don't know a herper out there who would deny that, right? Who has any sufficient experience that I don't think anybody would deny that. And the added sensory perception that you're sort of hovering around with this idea also is another thing that I think most experienced keepers, again, with any sufficient number of one kind of animal, a lot of those subtleties are kind of, them inherently. Like, for example, I don't know if you know, but recently I've been working on a couple of food mixes for my animals and that I also sell, right?
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. And so one of them, part of why I made it is because I feel like if we think like of a traditional food product, there's this idea that we want to cram as much as we can into that food product, right? So it's like you can get like a pellet, and that pellet or cube compressed food might have 25, let's say, just as 20 different ingredients in it, right? And the idea is because we want to prioritize dietary variety. But from my perspective, if it was me, you'd be hard pressed to convince me that you could give me a pellet that has 25 different food ingredients in it, and that it would either be palatable or that I wouldn't be a little suspicious of it. Do you know what I mean? Like it might be a little too processed, or so. I don't know. It just kind of freaks me out. Like I like I like short ingredient lists with things I can recognize, right? And yeah, well, it's just it's a lifestyle choice for me, right? And so my hypothesis is that simpler mixes catered to their preferences, both texturally and experientially, is going to make a big difference in the kind of health you get out of your animals, and better results out of a simpler food product, something that's a little bit more stimulating in the right ways and still offers like nice variety, but without just overloading them and hitting them in the face with a bunch of sensation. Right. So yeah, go ahead.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
So let me jump here. So this right here, we're not looking at the optic tactum. We're looking at this bearded dragon brain.
Okay.
You see this red spots down here that I'm pointing at? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. This is a bearded dragon brain, not a tokay gecko?
No, but this is a part of the PowerPoint where I talk about that this is the tokay gecko thing. But even this shows you they have dual hemispheres.
Okay.
Every reptile has dual hemispheres.
Okay.
But what's interesting is when we compare, so because of that dual hemisphere, what I'm doing is based off of that dual hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, there shouldn't be an issue. But like what
shouldn't be an issue with what? What do you mean?
Like with what you were saying. So because of the dual hemispheres, we see that their eye behavior is very similar to what eyes like that. But what's interesting, like when you talk about it with like, I've been telling Dylan and like Dave Levinson and a bunch of people this for years, and Dylan has finally kind of, when I wrote a little thing where I kind of explain it better as a story. He's like, man, oh my God. Like I had a guy at the show and he was naked here. It was like this, turned to me, he goes down. Calm Fancy, my beardy would sit on the back of my couch. And when I throw a phone on the couch, he'd do this with his left eye. That's his imagination. He doesn't know what that is. It's his imagination. And because of that dual hemisphere is why it should work with every single snake. But
what should work?
The tongue flick.
Okay.
So it should, but what about blind species? What about, it's so there is other factors here.
There's some implications if depending on what you see in the data, right?
Yeah. And we'll come back to the food thing here in a minute, but here's something interesting that's a theoretical.
Okay.
And so we have these 4 brains. So this is decision making, your imagination, your memory retrieval. So when we look at the rainbow boa here, python's very similar in shape. We have the bearded dragon, looks completely different. This actually looks, the fire skink actually looks more similar to the monitor than other species. But we look at the viper, the desert horn viper here at the bottom. It looks completely different. Yeah. And I think this is based off of movement. So we see the tilting of the brain of these is probably because this species sits up and this basal ganglia is actually movement. That's what this does. And it sits underneath the brain. And I think if we map this in a 2D model, I think it actually represents how our brains shape, even ours. I think it's very interesting. And I think the leanness of a reptile brain shows up really well here. I think this is actually one of those things where showing this really helps us understand our own brain. But we see how this right here, this middle one, this is how it maps our movement. These colors, our body parts are 3D mapped in it. I can't remember if the top is actually your feet or if it's your head and the bottom is your head, or is it your feet?
I'm guessing it's really variable, right? It's probably...
No. It literally, it maps our whole body this way.
I know, but not everybody learns to move in the same way, and not everyone, sometimes, people have different structures in their brain, right?
Yeah, the desert viper and the rainbow boa, they're snakes. Everybody's going to go, well, they moved it. No, they actually move completely different.
Yeah, for sure. It's very
Sidewinder and recoil. When we look at the hognose, doesn't this kind of look like an in-between, like a battery pack, but had swallowed by a balloon? Well, this does both. They do the sidewinder and they do the recoilization or whatever it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to this is fascinating. What something that you were alluding to, kind of thing. So if this is mapping our brain, our movement in our forebrain, so decision making, so we know our own spatial awareness. Look how different these are. If this holds up and this are the same, they're not mapping their bodies exactly the same in their own minds.
Okay. I mean, I'm not. Frankly, this is over my head, really. Like I know
it's theoretical, but it's so fascinating. I find it just incredibly interesting that they might actually completely see themselves, even though they're snakes. They're snakes, and so they see themselves completely different.
So let me tell you a little bit about where I come from on this particular topic, right? Because we're sort of talking about the difference between qualia.
You froze. I'm sorry.
We might be coming back here. There we go. Are we back?
Yeah.
Oh, almost. Okay, cool. We're back now. All right, great. So my internet kind of cut out there for a second, so sorry about that. But so I think what, we can talk about like qualia, right? Which is like, if I'm not mistaken, qualia is a description of the way things feel, like how it feels to be hot, how it feels to be cold, how it feels, right? So that's qualia. And then
probably.
But then
you froze again. Yeah.
Oh man, sorry about that.
I get it.
Sorry, man. I don't know if this is my connection or.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I know you. It's probably my connection, but hopefully it doesn't keep up. But at any rate, so that to me, we're talking about the difference. We're talking about qualia on one hand, and then we're talking about just straight up consciousness as like, let's say, a level above, right? And man,
let me get rid of this one to see if that. Stop sharing. See if I stop sharing.
I approach it. Oh, smokes! It's happened again. Oh yeah. You had the screen share going, huh?
I did, but I don't know if that affected it.
Okay, it might have. It seems like it's picked up a little bit, but I'm still struggling. Okay. But anyway, okay. I think it's okay. So I take it as a given that the animals are having a dynamic and complex conscious experience. Like it is obvious to anyone who spends any time with reptiles that they are having a deeply complex and interesting conscious experience.
Yeah. See, I think it froze again, but this is why you were my first choice. For having somebody on that I could actually like dive back and forth to. Because you'll speak up. You'll be like, I don't like that. I like that. That's really interesting. And you'll be the first one to like that. And you'll be a voice for the audience. Because there's probably a lot of people who would listen and go, hey, I don't believe in you. I don't like this. I don't like that.
It's just a communication. That's all it is. It's just hard. It's not everyone has communication skills are skills.
Really are. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you broke up again. So last night at the Herp Society, we had a guy on who studied.
And if you're not using idea with clarity, that's not.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah,
sorry.
you're on a delay, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, we keep getting hit with like a blip in the connection. I don't know if it's. I think it's my internet because I can watch my bars drop every now and again, and I don't know why. I don't know. I think my wife might be on a voice call upstairs and we might be kind of pulling a little bit of internet from each other. But anyway, so really, but I want to say that.
Jeez.
Hang on, man. So let me just for a second, I'm going to turn off my camera.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm still here. I want to see if this makes a difference.
It might. Yeah. I've had that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's just try this. Let's see if we get any blips when it's just a voice. So I think it's important to note that because I take it as a given that the animals are having a complex conscious experience, everything else downstream of that to me is what becomes interesting, because then it's a matter of exercising. We did it again, I think, even with the voice note.
Yeah, and it like sped up to catch up. Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. It happens.
Yeah, I know, but I wish so it's hard for me when I can't get out my thoughts.
I know. It's gotta be, I know deep down inside.
Yeah, I know you do. I know. So because they're having a complex conscious experience, everything downstream of that is something that I can intuit and investigate by way of empathetic expansion and experimentation. And so, I think it's interesting because in many fields, the people who are deeply immersed in that field oftentimes intuit things a little bit ahead of the people doing the like raw biological research on the meat vehicle, right? So it's interesting because, and I think with someone like yourself, it's obviously you're kind of doing both things at the same time. You're intuiting it through your experience with your animals, but you're also approaching it from an academic meat vehicle perspective as well. So I think it's a good thing. It's a really good thing, and it's something that interests me. And I think part of what makes it so interesting is because of the fact that it's so much of this is something that people can intuit. You can learn to see these things in the animals given enough investigation and observation.
Yeah, going back to what could we use the tongue flick for? Well, I've talked about before the figuring out how intelligent a reptile is sometimes going from instinctual thinking to memory. And kind of that might be a way to measure that in academia. Sure. Yeah. Utilize that. So using that to measure different things so we could actually have a better understanding of these things. Yeah. So like this is where we come into different structures. So does the rainbow boa remember faster or less than the bot? So yeah.
So I think so exactly. So I think things like memory and choice architecture, these are some of the same things that are sort of happening at the cutting edge of plant research that are kind of calling into question like whether or not plants have some sort of conscious experience or memory, right? But I think the thing that I am sort of taking away from that is like, what I want to be really careful about though is drawing a through line from the from what is found based, the experience, we got to be careful about making sure that we're not over extrapolating from some of the info. Cause like choice architecture may change based on how something is housed or whatever, but it also might change. Choice architecture might change if you just simply put like a foreign object into the enclosure, right? So it's like, it's all of the, I think when it comes to things like memory and choice architecture, it's really important to look at big sets of information rather than isolated data points, because, again, just because in different enclosure contexts, choice architecture changes, that doesn't necessarily mean that one is better or worse than the other, or that one is, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got two paths I can take away. This is funny. So I forgot to do a couple things early on. So we'll get back. So this is Bella. Mm-hmm. Short for Belichick, because she looks like a deflated football.
Yeah, I got you. That's a hell of that's a good one.
Yeah, so as a baby, she glass surfed so much that she actually created this big dip in her back.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, I've seen that before in other reptiles. Yeah.
Yeah, so this tells us so she needs a bigger enclosure than a lot of like a regular blue tongue would, because she's moving around so much.
So this is exactly where I would say there's maybe more nuance to it than simple size alone, because we've all seen very large enclosures that are extremely poorly constructed in the interior, and you can get the exact same problem in a very large space. I've seen animals with huge space options get that curve in their back. So it's not only the size of the enclosure, it also has to do with floor space,
personality of the
areas, how secure is the animal, how much variety in environment does it have to explore, how not just how comfortable, but how confident does it feel in that space to do the things and access the things that it needs to do. It's much more than a mere matter of the enclosure size, I think.
Yes. And so personality is so important too, to understand, because she's so smart. Pitch is the same way when she was a baby. She's super smart.
Sure.
And it's so interesting. So I think that's more, and that's why I got her.
No, for sure. So
for educational purposes.
Another example of this, like, let me give you a context from what I do here. So I have one of the species I work with is Uromastix tomasi, right? The Omani Uromastyx. And
I have no idea about the names. When you did your Uromastix deep dive, the only criticism that I had with it was I think you should have showed which ones are which.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think my goal with that particular deep dive was to try to give a brand new beginner as much useful information as possible. And the which from which is something that can only be, it would have to be a standalone doc, because there are examples of animals, that either are very close naturally or integrate naturally, to where it's not a very easy thing to describe. It's something that helps if you have like visual comparison, but I'm somewhat limited in my ability to edit video at the moment.
I can teach you sometime like that.
Well,
that one wouldn't,
No, I mean, as much as I appreciate that, but I have a pretty insanely full schedule, and so it's not.
I know, right?
Something that I can do to like tack on an added skill at the moment, but my goal is to eventually be able to hire someone who I can have edit videos for me. But all that to say, I do appreciate that feedback, and I will keep that into consideration as far as something I can make in the future, because I would like to make a video like that. But the tomasi, or the paddle-tailed Uromastyx, the ones with the little paddle tails, so these species come from Oman. They come from a very flat, very desolate part of that region of the world. And they don't have enormous home ranges. They also have extremely harsh conditions that limit their activity windows to the morning and the late afternoon. And so these guys, like late morning and then late afternoon. And so these Euros, if you put them in very large enclosures, even though they may use the space at the peak of daytime temperature, they might run around the whole thing. 90% of their time is spent in the same 3 square feet, 90% of their time. And so this is something that becomes kind of a problem, because you can actually see real issues when you insert a very small tomasi, or tomasi, however you want to pronounce it, into a very large enclosure. They can sometimes disorient them to a certain degree, where they don't really come out that much. And so what I've resorted to is housing tomasi individually in smaller enclosures, but when they're at their peak temperature is when they get outside to sun, or when they get out for exercise, because it gives them the same ability to like stretch their legs, pick up to a running pace, pick up to a trot, rip around, explore new novel things, but then go back to where they feel secure because there's so much of their biology that says it's going to get so hot out here that you're going to die if you don't get back to your hiding place right now. It's very urgent. It's a real thing. So, this is an example of where there's some nuanced demands, and
it did it. We were
bigger, better, more naturalistic,
Yeah.
Oh shit. That's okay. How much did we lose there?
I don't think we lost anything. I think it kind of people. I think caught on. Good. I think people will understand.
Okay. Good.
The thing about that video it was something like, I was talking to Mariah, and my belief is that if people aren't willing to learn the science, then they should be spending a shit ton of money. And if they're not willing to spend money and they're not willing to learn the science,
okay,
they damn well don't deserve the animals. You just can't. You just like, to me, it's the science. It's the main thing. If you're willing to learn the science, you should be able to keep the animals. I think it's one of those things. And I think if you're like, for a breeder, if they're not willing to at least listen to you, I don't think they should be breeding these things. Like, I think if they're not willing to sit down and listen to that, even if they don't take it away, even if they don't like, this is exactly what I'm going to do. If they at least want to learn what you understand, I think anybody that's not willing to do that, I don't think should be breeding. I think they're not willing to put in that effort.
My framing would sound something more like, my preference would be that people inherit a culture and a way of thinking about the animals that we keep, because the science around what we do is woefully incomplete and tiny data set. And I worry. Yeah, I agree. But I very much worry about too much, a little, like perfectionism being the enemy of good, you know? I think that if you could, one could come into this world, could come into herpetoculture with nothing but good examples and not much in the way of scientific literacy. And as long as they have a quality of exercising their empathy and a goal structure that is ethically aligned, then I think they'll come to similar conclusions. And I like the freedom of having, because our data set is so small and our science is so narrow at the moment regarding herps, I think iteration is a very important factor here. And I want iteration to be something that is open-ended in a way, and so I would like more experimentation. And I think a little bit too much rigidity could kind of quash that experimentation. So that's why I think the framing that I like is the goal structure,
So like taking a test. So what is humidity? What is surface temperature? What is air temperature? How do you get humidity? How do you read a light bulb? I think those basic questions, not this needs to be kept in like this needs to be, if you can read a care sheet and have an understanding of what they're saying.
But what I'm saying is, I think I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think from my framing, all of what you just mentioned that could be on, say, a quiz or a test to pass a certification course, I think all of that is packaged in the goal structure. So in other words, if the goal structure suggests to you that your goal is to allow your animals to thrive in the most complete ways possible, that has to be through informed problem solving. Well, you will figure out what humidity looks like. But I very regularly encounter customers who have a fixation on the numbers and the data and the digits. And I offer just as much feedback to people where I say, I need you to research more, to go to iNaturalist, to read papers, to understand a little bit about what gradients look like, the whole thing. I say that just as much as I say, I need you to pull back from your obsession with the numbers and understand that there are other signals that you can pick up on that will give you more direct and more correct interpretation for your animal than just like what your humidity is or exact. You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
I'm not saying I do. And I'm not saying it's not useful. All of that stuff is part and parcel to doing this well. I just think that, again, so much of the way I want to talk about this is coming from a draw a bigger circle philosophy.
I do see that. I just know from my experience, anytime that, like I've tried to help people with like setting up a bearded dragon they wanted, and I'm like, okay, so here's the 3 bulbs that I would recommend. Here's how long they last. Here's the cost. And they're like, well, just tell me which one to get. And it's like, no, you need to do this on your own, man. And they just like that. And they stay out of it. It's like, okay. And I think that's the desire.
No, for sure. I get it. And I get those questions all the time. But again, from my perspective, this is exactly where that's where one steps in and says exactly what you just said, which is, I understand you would like me to give you an exact recommendation, but the reality is you have to be a little bit flexible based on both season and your own locality to adjust your wattage and temperature as necessary. And so this is something you have to do yourself, but that's part of the education, is giving them that information and saying, like, this is a part you have to do yourself. I can't do this part for you. Right. And
they're more likely to take care of it better if it's their project.
Yes, but also don't get the key in that is not to, number one, not to chastise them or make them feel bad for having that question, right?
No, I think I like it. I just, and then
it's not always easy.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Going back to the empathy stuff, I've been trying to get Mike Stefani and Brad's builds. Because what's interesting with them is how like intelligent they are with the monitors and how much they focus. But when you actually hear them talk, they have the imagination, and empathy is a part of imagination. And so what happens with so for me as a child, like I had anger issues. So it's not having anger issues. It's not having addiction. It's not having problems. It's being able to overcome those problems increases one's empathy. And I think that in turns makes for better monitor keepers, better keepers by in general, because they see it and they can empathize better with it and just like imagining what they're going through. So when Mike Stefani's like, the girl bit the head of the other one and killed him, like threw him off. But yet, like she probably did that because they are preyed upon by the males.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's like,
sure. I mean, that's exactly part of my point, which is these breeders who spend a lot of time with their animals, they get to know what those animals want, don't want, you get more and more accustomed to their subtle.
You need to send that girl that gave you the interview on the bearded dragons. You need to send her my way, because I can teach her some stuff about their language, their actual thinking, some things like that. You send her my way, like I'll teach her how to read her body language, like the bearded dragon. Like it's nothing. Like it's so cool. Like just the tail.
I think. So are you? I think you mean Talia, right? She was the gal.
Yes.
Yeah, she's awesome and really sweet and really clearly has a lot of empathy for her animals, and I think is always, she seemed to be someone who is open to.
Yeah, she seems like she's in the beginner of the stages.
Yeah.
Who knows if she'll catch up or not? But I think once you
she'll catch up. She's clearly super capable. Yeah.
Oh no! To me, like it's interesting how many people. Like I was talking to her, like the beard right here getting dark. What do you think that means? When the beard is dark right here. Yes.
It depends on depends on the context. It depends. Are they alone? Are they in the presence of other animals? Like are they in a mirror?
I'm a little sickly. I'm a little upset. I'm a little I'm a little annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I see a girl. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I know. Like I've talked to 20-year breeders who had no idea what it was. There's like 3 or 4 people who've actually been able to answer it. And I don't know if I believe that because I know. Well, I didn't ask everybody, so that's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
And maybe some people like just don't. That's not the focus. Maybe they didn't see it. There's other things to that, but it's very interesting, and I think it's one of those things where my background's different, and that's where like my whole background is to how I've gotten here. Where 20-year people who've been in this hobby like way longer than me are still catching up to what I've done. It's just because my background's totally abnormal. Like it's not even real.
So you asked me at the beginning of the show, you said, what can you do better? I think right there, that's something you could do better right there. The way you described that you made a comparison between yourself and people who have been doing this for a long time in a way that sounded condescending to those particular breeders. Now, I know you didn't mean it that way, right? Because you and I have been talking for a long time now. We've gotten to know each other, right? But that's the kind of thing that
right.
But that particular I don't want to call it a habit, but that inclination inclination to make comparative statements like that is not going to win you friends, right?
You're probably right. Yeah.
And I say that respectfully, right? Because I don't mean I'm not trying to put you down, right?
No. What I find is that so many people like write me off right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And then as they know me, you're talking, you know, a year or so, they're like, no, we just listen to them.
Well, and I just I don't know if I would say that I just listen either. I mean, I always listen and give you the honor of hearing you out. Yeah. But let me relate with you here on this for just a split second. So I have gone through my whole life with people telling me that I'm arrogant or condescending or opinionated or critical or whatever of them. And so I've spent the whole of my nearly 40 years now making an effort to not make those statements because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not trying to. It's by no means my intention. And so I have a healthy respect for how challenging that can be, you know?
It really can be.
But I just would say that I think that is going to be the biggest, the single biggest thing for you to level up your ability to do this would be to find ways to win friends and make a positive impact on everyone you encounter. Because that's a huge thing. And you know, because not everyone will be willing to give you the same.
And that's what I did at work. The job that I just got, the first thing I did when I went in was every time I found somebody who worked really hard and was really well done, even if they were competent, I said it loud enough for the whole room to hear how great these people were, how hardworking they were.
For sure.
Like you make
that's
sure
great to do. I mean,
but it has
you know how when you get grades, you can have, if you have all F's and one A, it doesn't do anything to your GPA really. But if you have all A's and one F, it makes a major impact on your GPA. You understand? So it's the same thing with your interpersonal interactions with people. If you can be giving out F's like crazy, but just because you praise some people who are doing the right thing, that's not going to change the impression that people get of you, right? So your goal,
you do it right off the bat.
Yeah, but your goal should be to get all straight A's, right? Get straight A's. Just only have it so people talk about the positive things you say about others and what you're working on, because that's much more powerful at the end of the day. Because you know it just as well as I do that there are countless influencers in all fields whose entire modus operandi is to negatively bias you towards something else, right?
Yes.
And that's all they want to do is because it gets them clicks and money. So your superpower, the superpower you need to cultivate, is the one that allows you to be socially fluid in a way that people want to get your perspective and want to give you their time.
Yeah.
You know?
And trying to think, which way do I want to go with this? And
sorry.
You're right.
Again,
I lost my train of thought there for just a second. Yeah. I have like 5 other thoughts in my head. I'm trying to balance. No, you're good. You're perfectly fine. You like that was, you know, I was hoping that that was a compliment to you when we first started talking. And
that's what I'm saying is like, I think you're a very interesting guy and you have super cool things to say. So I want to hear them. Right. But I want to hear that. And I don't want to hear how that compares to and people who have been here for 20 years, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, and even with me, like the things that I've said, I question them. Like
all the time.
I bet
no one with any self-awareness doesn't question the things they say publicly, right?
And I always feel like that's another thing that I do is I talk to where it's almost like it's not really a question, but that's because I've spent so much time in my life with people telling me that if anybody could do it, it wouldn't be me. And so I have to have that self-importance. I have to believe in myself. And so I have to go, okay. Yeah. So it was like, there's so many examples I can give. But
but self-belief, right? Self-belief does not entail the comparative statement, right? Like that you can believe in yourself without verbally. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like and
we were talking earlier about, the animal's making choices. This is really interesting because, like I was telling Mariah, I find myself over and over going, wait a minute, hold on a second. I find myself saying that constantly now.
Sure.
So I made the video on the sea turtles.
Okay.
And I made a comment, they don't need help. That's probably why their brains don't wrinkle, so they don't lose information. And so genetically, there's information being passed DNA-wise that's actually allowing them to map to where they know where to go. And somebody in the comments said, well, you can't say that. Well, I already did. And then there was a guy last night we had on, and he's from one of the local colleges, and he's been studying leatherback sea turtles since 1979. And he was talking about the fact that it's like they've already planned out their whole lives, is exactly what he said.
Oh, that's interesting.
So when the sea turtle actually comes out and it actually starts heading for the kill, if you hold it up by 4 hours, it will die because it gets confused and has no idea where it's going.
Sure.
But if you take it and put it where it's supposed to be at 4 hours, it'll be just fine.
Interesting.
I found it. I know, and it really does put that. So what we talk about with like breeding, it has to be this exact, you need these different, scenarios. And it does make me wonder, since they don't wrinkle, how much of that is pre-programmed. And it was something that was on your podcast. The guy was talking about the scrub pythons and the mother, he let her incubate her own eggs.
Yeah, Paul.
And it was so interesting to me because that is actually something that happens in humans. And I bet you will know this one. So when you become a father, your brain chemistry changes, and it's so much.
Boy, does it ever! Boy, does it ever!
It's just like that, and that's what it is. It's like that. That's a pre-programmed in your DNA.
Absolutely,
and it's so interesting that would be the case. And so, looking at it, like he's got to go back up here. He's going to walk back. He just was falling off.
Sure.
I'm sorry, buddy. And so, I find it so interesting. So it does call into question how much is actual choice and how much is instinctual. But that's actually, I think, the reason their brains are designed the way they are, because they are prey items. So you separate that memory and like decision making and instinctual brain, which I hate that word instinctual, because it allows people to kind of go, well, it's just an instinctual brain. So therefore it doesn't, like, they kind of just write it off. And I hate that. I want to know deeper. I want deeper. Well,
yeah, I mean, my belief is that there's very little difference between instinct and what feels like conscious decision making. I think they're basically the same thing. Like I am not a.
It's that spherical brain for us. So therefore, like empathy, that modeling's in here in your what would be the reptile brain, whereas the imagination back here is part of it for us. So it makes that connection between those, because we have that spherical brain, or you could make the deal that they might not have empathy the way we have empathy, but they have empathy. They have the modeling part of empathy. But yet I have questions about that, because like I said before, if it's something that is almost instantaneous, and it is not learned behavior, then it is coming out of the optic tactum. Otherwise, it should be having a delay in the forebrain unless it's learned behavior. And that's, decision making, because they're dynamic of that brain. And so I'm going to have Brassman on, and he talks about the emerald green tree pythons or boas, I can't remember. But he has them go to a light. Like they will climb towards that light. Well, it sounds like it's instantaneous. That's not a learned behavior. So that's got to be coming out of the same part of the brain that has modeling. But is it modeling, or is it something else?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. Yeah. That's all interesting stuff to think about, for sure. I mean, again, now we find ourselves at the the intersection of I don't know anything about this.
I know, right? Like like even I'm going, this is where like, I've had so many doors. I listened to somebody once and they were talking about, they think they know where consciousness is, and it's the frontal lobe, but our frontal lobe is actually, so the, so right back, so on this, let's do this one a little better. So right, this blue mark here is a vein.
Okay.
Right above it on the back end, they're saying is their frontal lobe.
Okay.
So they're saying that is it. And then one of the things that's interesting here is that I haven't talked about this much, but this right here, I pulled a frog study and I took out every single word out of that study that I could find that all similar to human brains, not identical, similar. Well, the parts that I left out were cellular structures. And that's because the wording means big, small, left, right. Like, I'm like, I can't really include that because it just means left, right. I mean, how do we interpret that to humans? But I was listening to a neuroscience talk, and you know how they originally found our lobes? Because there was different layers of our forebrain had different structures to the layers. That's how they found the different lobes originally. So when we're talking about small, big, left, right, that's showing us that they have lobes.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the memory and imagination. So they have imagination. It's on the same side of the brain as ours, and it's so interesting.
Sure. I agree. Super interesting. But yeah, I'm sure there's way more overlaps between their consciousness and ours than we give them any.
That was a frog.
But I feel that way. I feel that way about pretty much everything, all the way down to just south of rodents. You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah. Oh, we finally did it again.
Everything just south of rodents, all the way down to just south of rodents is having. Yeah. Can we? So this connection thing is starting to like chop things up on my side. Can we do this again? Because this was fun. I'd love to talk again. I don't want to. Yeah. We're only about an hour in, but would it be okay? Because I'd love to try again when our connection's less spotty. Because I'm losing you a little bit when you're in the middle of something, and it's hard for me to follow.
Okay. So some of the things that I want to talk about is like your food.
Oh yeah.
How do you know? Like, how did you come to that stuff? Because as a chemist and stuff, I've applied to jobs at food places where they can chop it up and stuff. And I also want to talk about the fact of the water dragons enclosures with the hydroponic system. I found what it should be for me to grow wildflowers in there.
Okay.
Like the pH and the particle size stuff. So I thought that was interesting. And I think I'm going to go that route because I can still grow lettuce in there.
So you were, So you asked how did I come up with the food?
Yeah. Like, how do you come up with that and why should we trust it?
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of hard. Yeah.
So no, that's great. That's a really good question. So, the vast majority, so the primary changes I make to the food is.
Yeah, you're breaking up again. If this is something that you want to wait for a second talk, so it gives you more time to think.
Consistencies to which I'm not too worried about it. I just am losing internet when I try to.
I know, right? Like I think this is a great talk, and I would love to sit down longer and actually go over some of the stuff like the neuroscience stuff. But I also want to, the food stuff that you're doing. I think I don't know if it's bad or good. I think it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah,
I put flowers in with the new Euromask. Other things that I wanted to talk about was I sent you that picture of the tail, and like I had one that died within a couple of months of me having her. She was awesome. I took her for walks, and she literally on the leash would just come back. I would not even hold the leash, and she'd just come back to me. This Chuck is terrified of the outside. Like, he's terrified, and I think he's wild caught. But she was awesome, but she passed away, and I didn't fully understand. But I didn't look under the tail to notice that it was empty, and I have been looking there for a while, and that's been something I wanted to talk about, because when I bought mine, the ones that I've got right now, all of them had full tails, so they had fat reserves. But I don't know how important that is. I thought it was far more important than it's been talked about. Lighting is another thing. The guy from the Indian guy, I'm so bad with names, wants to do a YouTube house. He was on he was talking with you and stuff. And so when I talk about, like, my beardies changing colors, they're changing colors to take in that radiation. I don't talk about it as heat. It's that radiation. And you guys were talking about using a UVB, or not a UVB meter, but not a UVB, but a
spectrometer.
Yes, where you guys do for what is that? Solar panels. And you guys were doing the heat spot.
Like someone else. This would be someone else. This wasn't me.
Yeah, but I thought he mentioned you. I thought he was talking to you about it. I find it fascinating, because I think that was something like talking about that energy consumption. So if you're looking at it as, this is energy consumption, and so that light coming down is adding that energy to them. It's not just UVB, UVA, it's actually, and it's not just heat, it's energy, radiation. And then understanding that, I thought that was fascinating. And I thought you were part of that project, because I wanted to know way more about that, because I've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think that's me. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I swear he said something about you in the project. But no, I got to ask him about that, 'cause that's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, man, we can do another one like later. In fact, I could probably find time later this week, honestly. So let's just do it when we have a better connection. And I'll try to be upstairs closer to the modem next time. I'm down in my basement with, so we can.
I did the same thing when I was at the house, like at this house.
So
like it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's still good. I think we still had a good convo, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
I think so too, right? Yeah. I think so. And so I was talking before. So like I listened to Nick Mutton. He was so. I think it would be really cool to have somebody like that, or you even maybe, to where I teach you neuroscience, and then you teach me. And I don't think I need it, but yet it would be really cool to have that, to where people can listen to it, and so I can be the voice of the people, just like you be the voice of the people for me. So teaching like natural and like different morphs or something. But I want something that could be seen as very important, like natural history, or the morphology, the genetics, something that could be seen as super important. And then I would love to go on like Reptile Fight Club, and actually like have us fight about, and it wouldn't be like necessarily like, oh, hey, everybody has an opinion, but it's, it's just showing that these two things are so important still. So what we were talking about before, where people kind of may write off the neuroscience stuff because they can't see the use of it. And I think that might help with that a little bit more, to go, oh, like this is very important because of this. I also want to do like a Reptile Fight Club on have those two guys, each of us come up with our own version of what it takes to be a great monitor keeper. Okay. Because I want to bring that empathy to it. I want to bring that, like, like we look at this, and when we look at these people, you can hear that imagination and how they talk about this, and we know that's part of empathy. And this seems to be what we see as being like really great keepers. Yeah, and I think that would add so much if they had their own opinions and my opinion, and we just talk about it and work that out. I also think maybe doing a reptile fight club on. Since I don't have a degree in the neuroscience, but before I ever went to college, I learned things like the neuroscience of empathy, the neuroscience of autism. Blind sight is something that I teach, and it's something that because it's so important and so interesting, and it helps people understand the animals. One of the best things that they say that they loved about my talk is this particular slide right here. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I show that there's pathways here.
Okay.
And understanding that pathway is what I talk about with instinctual brain is that dark green, whereas memory and decision making is that red. And so that's why there's a delay because of the usage. And that green goes straight down to the medulla. It's part of it. Mm-hmm. And so that's the instinctual side of that brain. And so that would kick it down and move the body. And as a matter of fact, let me go back here. Monitors. I had this hypothesis back in 2023. Yeah. I just remember talking to somebody at the at the deal. And so when we look at this, I think it's an Aki. It's a spine-tail iguana or a monitor spring-tail. I think it's what's an Aki. When we look at this, we look at this gray spot here. I'm so bad with names. Don't ask me what it's called. Ask me how it works. So this right here, this is the thalamus, and so this gray, this darker gray, is the decision. This is the what would be the instinctual brain, and the forebrain is over here. And so we see that whereas the bearded dragon, it was underneath. We actually see this thalamus going in between those two things. And I think that makes a faster connection between the two. And that's one reason why they come across as more intelligent, because there's faster communication between the two.
Yeah, very well could be.
I think that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Super cool, man.
Yeah, I get off on that stuff. I get so excited. Like, I don't know if you saw the Mariah stuff where I was just like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, sure did. I did. Well, let's do another one like later this week, and we have some better connection. We'll get into more detail.
Yeah. Okay. We'll publish this one, and just go over what think about.
Let me know when this is out. Make me a collaborator on the post, okay?
Oh yeah, okay. Great. Awesome. See, I am an asshole, but I'm just not as big an asshole as most people probably think.
Oh, I don't think you're an asshole. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people think I'm an asshole, man. Whatever.
Oh, haters. Before we go, this is I do read to the reptiles. I've got one coming up here soon. What we do with this qualia, and he's actually started coming away from it, is I stick him up in the air when he buffs up, and so the audience can see that he's coming down and calming down, and so he starts relieving that air from his lungs.
For sure.
And so they get a big kick out of that. It shows them, okay, this animal is calming down, and this is one way to calm him down. I do this with the tagu as well. Like I hold him up to calm him down in certain situations. But yet he's gotten so used to it that he doesn't do it as much.
Sure, of course. Yeah, they get relaxed. Definitely.
But yeah, he's
awesome.
He doesn't hate me, but he trusts me.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's do another one really soon. Okay.
I appreciate everything like you do. And
thanks.
I do. I worry that like a lot of these talks and stuff that I do, I talk way too much. I thought the Mariah
thing. You did fine, man. Don't worry. You did good.
But it's interesting. It's not like, I've reached out to Trap Talk. I've reached out to a couple of other people. And trying to see if I can go on their show.
Sure.
And actually do the talk on the neuroscience stuff.
Yeah,
because I want to go over every single topic like I have it in there, and then like I would in the book, I want to go over like the theoretical of it, the actual experimentations that we could probably do, that I think should be done, and I think would give people PhDs from those types of things. So the medulla is longer for certain things because of the having over tactile sensation of some kind.
Yeah.
It stretches that medulla. So if we take an enclosure, I know I need to stop and let you go, but we take an enclosure, we put a ball python against rainbow boas, we let them escape, we see how they escape.
Yeah.
Then we turn the enclosure around, we let them escape, see how they escape, and then we build a completely acrylic, exactly the same design, but completely acrylic, and we put them in that. And the goal is to see if, because the ball python actually has a longer percentile of the brain dedicated to that medulla than the rainbow boa does. So does it affect their tactile sensation? For sure. I don't know. What's cool about it is it doesn't matter the answer. It's fascinating. If it makes no difference whatsoever, that's fascinating. If it actually makes to where the ball pythons are more sensitive to touch than the rainbow boa, that's fascinating. If it takes away from the ball python's touch and the rainbow boa has better, that's fascinating. Like the answer doesn't even matter. It's just cool.
It's interesting one way or the other. Yeah, for sure.
And I think you could get somebody, like I had people talk about, like, well, are you going to go ahead and do more studies in this? And I'm like, dude, the one lady at one of the things was like, she shouted out, well, that'll take 10 years to prove out. And it's like, I don't have 10 years. Like, I don't want to spend 10 years on a project like this. My brain is chaos. Like, I want to move on. I want to learn. Like, I understand gambling techniques so well, and instead of being a gambler, I just moved on, and I've utilized it in like this because it's just like the money doesn't really matter that much. It was learning it and understanding it, and then I just want to move on to something else because I have that chaos in my brain and I just want to do it. So Daniel, this was.
I keep losing you, man. I still I'm only getting bits and pieces of each thing. Unfortunately, like I keep getting clipped out.
I know.
I'm sorry, but
no. I got to take the animals for a walk.
Okay, cool. All right, go do your thing, and then we'll talk again here real soon. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you again very much.
Thank you so much for stopping in. Like I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. I'm glad we could finally set aside a time to talk.
I know, right? Like I always worry that people are kind of avoiding me, but then it's like. But then, sometimes I worry, like with, I wonder what Mariah thought before having a conversation with me. After a conversation, it's like, no, this is actually pretty cool. Like, this is really interesting. And she was very excited about what I'm doing with the neuroscience stuff afterwards. Yeah, very, very,
That's good, man. Awesome. Great stuff. Well, I will talk with you here in a few, okay?
Yeah. Remember the questions that I was kind of wanting to run with you.
I will. Yeah, and we can always look back and.
Oh yeah, that's what's nice about actually saying it, because I was totally gonna forget some of that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again, and I will talk with you here soon. Okay.
I appreciate you. I appreciate the audience. Anybody that stuck around this long, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So, you guys have a good night.
You too. Thank you, Daniel. Talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.